What? What's going on? You got to introduce me.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Why do I?
Cause that's your job. For Christ's sake.
When did I get demoted? Guy's out sick for once.
Right.
and then I
Matt's
get
sick
demoted.
today, so this guy's supposed to be taking over, and already he's failing miserably.
Hey, well, you know. Someone's gotta do the
Introduce
job, right?
yourself. Introduce yourself.
Stephen Gott.
Steven is the producer of the show. Sir Matt is out. I don't know exactly why. I didn't get. What did he say?
I don't want to go into detail on the air because I don't know what he wants known or not known, so we're just going to say
So it's erectile dysfunction then.
probably.
Yeah. Okay. So
Probably.
we're not going to talk about that on the air.
Nah.
No, that's not cool.
No, that whole HIPAA thing may come in
Yeah,
factor.
exactly. Yeah, he's got HIPAAs. He's getting his HIPAAs replaced.
No.
Oh.
The
Anyway.
whole Privacy Act thing.
Right. Oh, that HIPAA thing. Anyway, so Steve,
Gary.
have you been to any of the? Let's see. I went to what's his name? Cruz. Ted Cruz's thing yesterday over at the gun show. I got there late because I was supposed to get there late, and that was pretty cool. I got to shake hands with him and talk with a bunch of libertarians afterwards and stuff like that. That's kind of the crowd. I thought the crowd for Rand Paul was going to be pretty much libertarians, but there's actually a bunch of libertarians who were falling into ranks behind Ted Cruz too. So it's kind of interesting makeup, because I think what it is he's one of the few people that understands the danger of the state having too much access to too much information about all the people that live in. He's not one of the people that's in favor of giving the NSA more and more authority to take more and more of your information.
I get it. No, I mean, no, I haven't been to any of them rallies or anything lately, or actually in general. I mean, like, politics is really new to me, since I've been working where I'm working at.
Right.
And being employed through who I'm employed with, being into politics and all that. So get older, wiser, and this and that. And I've been learning more and more about politics. Right now, it's kind of that thing for me where it's kind of sitting back in the back and listening and hearing what other people are saying, and then taking it as like reading between the lines.
Kind of process it.
Exactly, and I'm like I said, I'm reading between the lines. I'm not listening to exactly what your opinions are of the person or their politics or their stance or anything like that. I'm hearing what the majority of the people are saying, and I'm trying to do the research on my own to find out is this person pro-gun? Is this person trying to take away this or take away that or this and that? And I understand everybody's going to say what they want to say to get elected.
Yep.
And and then once they're in, then it's a whole different ball game from there. And I understand that their hands are somewhat tied once they're in office.
Yeah.
But I know some of them, their heart and their intentions are there, and it's just trying to figure out the ones that's what they are, or they're just calling your bluff to say, hey, I'm for this, and then they're actually not, because that does happen.
Yeah. No, it does happen a lot. If you look at like Mitt Romney or George Bush Jr. And the Democrats do this too, but the Republicans, what they tend to do is pull really far to the right in the primary, and then they go back to the center in the general election.
Yeah, see, I'm just starting to learn that and understand that. So
somebody like a Jeb Bush or Chris Christie are absolutely, positively, there's no question in my mind, pretending they're a conservative.
Oh, Chris Christie's out of it for me. Just watching him on TV and this and that, and then
after seeing him French kiss Obama last, 2 years ago or 4 years ago, whatever it was.
That, and then to me, he just comes across more like he comes across more like a mafia style.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I mean, it's just more thuggish. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, but that's my own personal opinion, the way he comes across to me.
Okay.
I don't want to bully. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the way he seems to me.
Okay.
And it's like I'm listening to other people, like my girlfriend, she cannot stand Donald Trump.
Okay.
She's absolutely against him. You know, but
he seems like that. It seems like there's two kinds of people: those who hate him and those who love him.
Exactly, and I'm not sure where I stand with him. I like the way it is because of where he's coming from. He's not a politician. He's a businessman. I get it. So he's not politically correct. And I think that's what's irritating a lot of people, is because he's not afraid to say some of the things that a lot of the politicians are afraid to say because they're afraid to lose the vote.
Yep.
And that's what I like about it. You know, he's straightforward. It's, you know, this is it. It's black and white. That's it. You know, there's no like, all right, it's this shade of gray or it's more this shade of white. You know what I mean? He's like right there. It's black and white. And that's one thing I do like about him. I'm not sure how I feel about some of the things that he's saying.
Correct.
You know, but that's one thing that I like. He's straightforward.
Yeah, I know. What is the things that policies or whatever that bother you about him?
I'm just, you know, like I said, I'm still just getting into a lot of this, but you know, I kind of like the idea, and don't get me wrong, and don't take it the wrong way. I like the idea of, you know what, this country's broken. Let's start here first.
Right.
I understand we need a government. I understand we need a military. But do we need to spend the billions of dollars a year that we're spending on the military because we need it overseas to take care of other policies and this and that? I think we need to get some of this money back into this country and make it great again, like he's saying. We need to fix what's broken here. Look at it. Look, just Manchester alone, the state of New Hampshire alone. How many overdoses have we had? You know what I'm saying? Let's fix these little problems. How many people are unemployed just in New Hampshire alone?
Well, I think it's not just unemployed, because the unemployed number is actually artificially low. But I forget if you include the people that are underemployed or not even looking anymore, the unemployment rate's huge, actually.
It is.
Because people just gave up. I mean, they were engineers, or they were this and that, and then...
Well, because they're sending all our jobs overseas because they don't have to pay taxes.
They're sending them overseas, and there's a lot of kids coming out of college with engineering degrees, and Silicon Valley's made a sweet deal with the people like from Apple and Facebook. Who's the guy who owns Facebook?
Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah, Zuckerberg. To I think they're H-1A visas. Mm-hmm. So that they say, oh, we can't find anybody qualified, so they import all these people from India that have the same degree as the kid graduating from a college in New Hampshire, but they give it to the guy from India because he's going to work for a lot less.
Yeah, I heard you talking about this probably a couple months ago.
Yeah, and so you got it coming and going. I mean, I remember back in the 90s, and this was, you know, people want to blame this on a party. This was both parties cooperating for once for the worst thing they could do. If you listen to Bush Sr. and the Clintons were saying at the time that we're going to basically go to a service economy. Okay? All right. So all the blue-collar... See, they didn't care about the blue-collar workers because that's not them. They're white-collar. They figured their friends are all safe. They're all in the... You know, they're the rich and aimless, so they're good. So they made some sweet deals with China and different places like that to export blue-collar work jobs over to China. And people in my party want to blame the unions, but it really had nothing to do with the unions. This is just people at places like Apple. Apple, when they decided to make their iPad, mm-hmm. They could have manufactured that in the United States.
Yeah.
Okay, but their profit margin would have gone from 70% to, say, 50%.
Or less.
Or less, but they still would have made a killing if it was made in the United States, because we have some amazing workers in the United States.
Of course we do.
But there's more profit.
But when they can make a bigger profit and pay zero to little taxes... They're making even more. So, to them, it's a win-win. If we can't figure out a way to keep the jobs here,
right? Because
and to get the people to pay the taxes, we can turn around and start beating down some of that deficit.
Yeah, I know, because that's all you basically the Democrats and Republicans have gutted the middle class.
Yeah.
And you can't blame it on the Republicans, and you can't blame it that they're both guilty. And I am willing to bet that if you, and I don't know an equivalent on the Republican side, so I'll just use this, but I'm willing to bet if you look into the Clinton Foundation, they got a lot of dollars from China.
Oh, I'm sure.
Okay, and there's a lot of money going into different people's pockets, and all of a sudden all those jobs are elsewhere: Mexico, China, India, and it's the fault of both parties. I'm just basically fleecing the middle class.
Yeah.
But so let's talk. Our guest tonight was supposed to be. I didn't actually know Matt wasn't going to be here until a few minutes ago. Our guest tonight was supposed to be Dick Hinch, who is the new majority leader of the State House. Jack Flanagan, who was the majority leader, stepped down so we could run for Congress, and so Dick Hinch was took his place. And I don't know where the heck he is, but we were going to talk about. I said on Facebook I was going to talk about the state legislator from Manchester who wants to legalize prostitution.
Why?
I think the argument is this is.
I could care less one way or the other, but really? Don't we have bigger fish to fry?
Well, that is. I get that argument, and we hear that up in the State House all the time. Why are you guys concentrating on this when we have to get jobs and everything else? The fact of the matter is, you have a 400-person legislature, and we don't all have to be concentrating on something like that. All 400 of us can introduce basically as many pieces of legislation as we want for whatever we want. Whether everybody votes on it and agrees with it is a completely different issue.
Yeah.
And that's one reason I wanted to talk to Representative Hinch about this, is because I believe the policy of leadership, because he as a head of the Republican majority is able to talk about policy, and I believe they came out against this. The reason I think the legislator introduced it is the argument is that if it's legal, you can regulate it and protect the people that are involved in the trade.
Okay, what about the people that don't want nothing to do with it?
You'd still do it illegally, you mean?
No, they make it legal. What are they going to do? Open up brothels everywhere?
I don't know. I think it's a really bad idea. The reason being is I think when you introduce legislation, if you're going to vote for legislation, it has to be consistent with the Constitution. As a legislator, I've said this a million times on the program, when you're elected a legislator, before you can vote on anything, and I mean anything, you have to swear to uphold the Constitution.
Mm-hmm.
You don't swear to uphold the party platform. You don't swear to uphold or follow one of the leaders in the House or anything else. The only thing you swear to is upholding the Constitution.
Okay.
And one of I don't think it's spelled out exactly, but one of the premises of the Constitution is that laws should be moral and ethical. Mm-hmm. Okay, like for instance, Article 6, the title of it is Morality and Piety Being Necessary for the Good, to have a decent government.
Yes.
There's an article later on that talks about the characteristics of your legislators, how ethical and stuff they should be. And it's a constant refrain throughout the Constitution about morality. And I think fundamentally any law we introduce has to be either morally neutral or positive. Mm-hmm. If it's morally degrades society, I can't see how you can constitutionally vote for it. And I think something like prostitution, because right now, I don't know what the numbers are, but let's say there's a dozen young women, or men for that matter, in Manchester that are involved in illicit.
So if it passes, does that mean you're changing careers? Or?
Well, let me finish. Say there's a dozen young people that are involved in prostitution in the city of Manchester. Once it becomes legal, that person who's struggling working at Dunkin' Donuts or McDonald's and says, well, $100 a day is a lot better than, I don't know what they make. I have no idea. But let's say $100 a day or $200 a day.
Versus $60 a day, probably.
If that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be pretty enticing. The money alone would be pretty enticing just to go have to sleep with some old lonely guys. And I think you're going to draw more and more people into the trade and destroy more and more of their lives for the almighty buck. And I don't think the almighty buck should dictate our policy.
I mean, I can see both sides of it. I was always taught to stay open-minded.
Yeah.
And to be fair about everything, and I try to be the best I can. And I mean, I can kind of see both sides of it. Like, I know in places in Nevada it's legal and this and that.
Yeah.
So I get it. All right, people that couldn't get laid in a monkey house with a bag of bananas.
Right.
There you go. There's your fix.
Monkey house.
So here it is.
Bag
They
of
have
bananas?
a clean, safe environment to go.
Right.
So that's killing, one issue of, dropping down the STDs out there.
Right.
All right, because now they're regulated the whole 9 yards. I get it. You know what I'm saying? So that's killing some of the STDs. People are employed. People are happy. You know what I mean? Both sides, whatever. So, I mean, government's making tax money off of it. I mean, I kind of get it, and it's getting it off the streets. You drive around to some of these local streets right around here and, not so pleasant neighborhoods, you got a 50-50 chance of walking up on somebody, paying somebody because they need drug money.
Right. Right.
So I get it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I see that side of it, of the legalization of it.
Yeah.
Is it beneficial? Who knows?
Yeah,
I can't say that.
That's my moral position, but my other position is business. I was thinking I could have like bumper stickers. You know how like you get bumper stickers for taking your motorcycle to the top of Mount Washington,
Mm-hmm.
right? You can have a bumper sticker made. I slept with the New Hampshire legislature.
Jesus. Lord help us.
No, but I was thinking of starting my own business, right? But then I says, well, wait a second. Under the current law, do I have to provide services for people that are of the same sex? Is that discrimination if I say, no, I don't think so?
I guess you would have the right to choose.
No, I don't think you do.
Why wouldn't you?
Well, if you go into a bakery and they say, I want a same-sex wedding cake, and they say, no, I'm a Christian, I'm not going to do that.
That's actually happened. I remember reading an
They
article
put those
about that.
people out of business.
Yeah, they were sued over it.
Yeah,
And
so
the judge made them do it. Yeah.
the judge made them do it or get out of business.
Yep.
So therefore, if this goes through, and I start my own business, it could get pretty ugly.
Well, if that's what you're into, Gary.
I didn't say I was into it. I'm just thinking about that,
He just to his own. Remember, Clinton passed that law. I think it was "Don't ask, don't tell." So
Right, exactly.
we don't want to know.
What is it? What I see? One of those. What do they call it? The posters on Facebook. Are they called memes, or is everything a meme, or
Yeah,
just
something like that.
something
Yeah.
like that? It was one with Bill Clinton with his arms around this really pretty girl, and the caption is, if Hillary can't make her own husband happy, why should you think she's going to make this country happy?
There's been so many about them
Yeah,
too
baby.
in the last
Oh man, it's going to get ugly. It's going to get wicked ugly. That's actually one of the things I really like about Trump is he said some off-color comment. It really wasn't that bad. As a presidential candidate, probably shouldn't have said it, but it wasn't that bad. And then
year. Which one was that?
I'm not going to say it on the air. And But anyway, so she starts going after him on lack of respect for women and women's issues, because that's the big Democrat thing is, oh, God, Republicans don't care about women's issues, quote unquote. And that's one thing about Trump. He just laid into her and started saying, well, okay, really? You covered up for your cotton-picking husband who's slept with everything, probably including goats, for the last 25 years, protecting him and humiliating the women that came out and expressed what happened, and now you got the nerve to say that you believe in women's issues. It was really a good attack. I would also, and I don't think I've heard this yet. If you really believe in women's issues, if Hillary really believes in women's issues, she should also believe in a woman's right to protect herself, and a woman's right to have the Second Amendment and protect herself, because women, sexist as this may sound, are physically typically less able to defend themselves than a guy.
I mean, I know a lot of women that carry.
I know, but she's against the Second Amendment.
Hillary?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wicked bad.
Yeah, no, I get that.
So how can you be against the Second Amendment, the one tool, the great equalizer, so young women can walk down the street and not have to worry about some scumbag, hurting them? It was like that awesome lady, the 65-year-old woman was...
Yeah, the elderly woman.
The elderly woman, they followed her up to her house and then tried to jump her. And
I still want to see how that turns out, because, I mean, you only get part of the story that they, of course it is news and it's
we only get
mainstream
part of the
media.
story, yeah.
You only get part of the story. So from my interpretation of the reading is she was approaching her front entrance to the building she lives in.
Correct.
And turned around to this young kid that was behind her. And that's all they said is, and they put it in their own words, and she shot him in the chest.
Yeah.
So here's my point is, you come into my house, and if it wasn't for, I think it was HB 508, I mean, don't quote me, but I remember
know what you mean, yeah.
Stand your ground.
Yeah.
Prior to that, even with that, in law, I still have to prove in a reasonable doubt that my life was in danger. I don't have to flee anymore. Before I can shoot you, I still have to prove, or if I do shoot you, I still have to prove that my life and my family's life is in danger.
Correct.
So she still has to prove that her life was endangered. If that's what I'm saying. I want to see how this plays out, because what if it was an innocent person that was just happened to be going to visit his buddy to play Xbox, and she turned around and shot him?
Right. But but according to the story, that person followed them. She stopped for something at the convenience store, and that car followed her all the way. Then she parked as close as she could to her own door.
Oh, okay.
And they pulled up next to her, or really close to her, and then she tried to get to the door as quick as she could, and this guy jumped out.
Okay. See, I didn't get that.
That's my
I didn't
understanding.
follow the whole story.
Yeah, that's my understanding of the story. And like you said, you don't know exactly what happened until it ends up in court.
Yeah.
And my advice to people, that woman or anybody else that's in that circumstance where you defend yourself, shut up.
Yeah.
Don't say anything, because
it could go either way.
Because you're emotional.
Yep.
If you've just shot somebody, your emotions are gonna be skyrocket. You're gonna, there's gonna be part of you that's elated because you defended yourself, and part of you that feels bad because you just hurt somebody or killed somebody. You're not gonna be in your right mind. Mm-hmm. And so saying anything at that point in time is only going to be detrimental when you get to court.
Yeah. Anything you say can or will be used against you in the court of law.
So
I mean, that's the one thing I always teach my kids too. You get stopped by the police. I don't care if you're walking, driving, whatever. Shut your mouth.
Shut up. Yeah.
Don't say a word.
Yep. Telling the cops they're big jerks
Very
is
minimal.
Always a bad idea.
And they're not there to have a conversation with you. So don't have a conversation with them. I'm not saying be rude to them.
No.
They have a job to do. So don't you. But you still have to protect yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what I teach my kids, because unfortunately, when I know we've had this conversation on the air before, it saddens me that these kids are not taught their constitutional rights in school anymore. And if they are, it's very fine lined.
we actually had a bill in the Judiciary Committee today to require jurors to have to have read and be familiar with the Constitution before they could sit on the jury.
Well, that's good.
It is good, but it wouldn't work because I think there's already case law as to whether or not somebody who's illiterate can serve on a jury or not. So therefore,
They have everything else in audio. Why can't they do a Constitution in audio? And I'm sure you can find it somewhere. Sit down
Yeah.
and listen to it.
Yeah, probably. No, that's actually not a bad idea. It is kind of a good idea, but in practical terms, that's not the place for it. I mean, in practical terms, if what they're deciding is something relative to the Second Amendment, the lawyers are probably going to explain to the jury what it means.
Yeah.
So, in theory, it should be. It's kind of unnecessary. It's just another law to put on the books to burden people. So, it didn't go. It didn't pass the committee. But it's in principle, it's not a bad idea. But like somebody said, one of the good conservatives on the committee said they really need to be learning this in school, not just
No,
before
they
they
should
go.
be. I learned it in school. Well, I'm not saying I learned the entire Constitution in school, but, we learned a lot of it in school,
Yep.
you know? But it's like, even my oldest is 22 now, and it's like, they didn't know the Constitutions. They didn't learn it in school.
No,
And it's like, what happened?
I don't know.
They're
I don't know.
teaching them everything else?
No, they'll teach
That has
them.
nothing to do with
they'll teach
life
them
or
about
fundamentals.
Black Lives Matter, but they're not going to teach them about the Constitution, or they'll teach them about how horrible the Americans
I mean, I
were,
don't
what
know
they
how-
did to the Indians, and
Yeah.
all kinds of things to denigrate the founding fathers. But they're not going to teach them because the as far as I'm concerned, there's two documents in this history of the world that are relevant: the Bible and the Constitution of the United States.
Yeah.
That's it. After that, everything else is gravy. I mean, the Constitution, as far as I'm concerned, was heavily influenced by God. I mean, did you know that they actually used to pray before? I mean, there was prayer sessions and stuff like that before they decided on stuff.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, yeah. God, as much as the news media wants to convince you that Christianity has really no place in government, that was never the case. I mean, Thomas Jefferson, who's the poster child for secularism, when he was in, I think it was Virginia Senate, I forget what state he was from, actually introduced legislation to on keeping the peace during the Sabbath and things like that. I mean, he was not somebody who didn't believe in God like people want you to believe.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
John.
back then they were very religious. I mean, it
Very
was
religious.
family and religion.
That's it.
You know.
If you look at Article 6 of the New Hampshire Constitution, it says piety and morality. You know what piety is?
I don't think so.
Reverence for God and family.
Okay.
So the Constitution tells you to have reverence for God and family and morality, and those three things are essential to a democracy.
Mm-hmm.
And the premise is that if you have a moral society, you have a self-controlled society.
Yeah.
If you have a self-controlled society, they don't need outside influence to know the right thing to do.
Yeah, they don't need to be governed.
They don't need to be governed, so therefore you need very, very limited government to control the population, because the population controls itself.
Yeah.
And that was the premise of our democracy. That's why when we go over to some of these other countries and try to infuse democracy into it, it can't work. Because there's no fundamental morality to begin with.
Yeah.
You know, to bring home my point, John Adams, who was obviously one of the architects of our Constitution.
He makes a good beer.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
that's
that's his
Sam.
brother,
that's
Sam.
that's his son. I think it's his son. Sam.
Oh, is it? I didn't
Yeah.
know if they were related. I was just being
They
funny.
are related to Sam Adams. Anyway, John Adams wrote somebody told me, and I haven't double checked this. He actually had a lot to do with the New Hampshire Constitution also. But anyway, when he wrote the Massachusetts Constitution, it had a provision in there that you could not be sworn in as governor unless you had accepted Christ as Lord and Savior.
Really?
Yes.
Never
In
heard
New
that.
Hampshire, I know, because they don't want to tell you. In New Hampshire, you had to be a Christian to be in the legislature. You couldn't, as Obama wants to say that the Muslim faith was has been part of our history ever since the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Do you hear him say stuff like that?
I didn't, but I think I heard somebody else mention that, and I just busy and I wasn't paying attention.
Right. Well, he's correct, except it's not in a positive way. The only real interaction we really had with the Muslim faith was the pirates in the Mediterranean in particular and around Africa would capture American ships and take the women and children and sell them off into slavery, just like they do now.
Yep.
And I don't understand how women, some of the feminists are pro. It just doesn't make any sense at all. Anyway, they would capture our ships, and then if we didn't want our ships captured, we had to pay basically
Ransom.
no, it was almost like a mafia insurance policy.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay, and that happened for the first few years of our fledgling country until Thomas Jefferson said, "Well, we're paying them enough because we needed trade. We had a lot of cool things in the United States that we wanted to trade with other people, and these people were just raping and pillaging if we didn't pay them dues." And so instead, he used that money to build an army. And if you listen to the Marines anthem
Yep.
from the shores of Tripoli,
Mm-hmm.
where's Tripoli? Libya.
Libya. Okay.
Okay, that's what that was about. You know why they call them leathernecks?
I think I've heard this once before, but
Because the Muslims have not changed. The radical Muslims have not changed at all. Their MO was to cut people's heads off.
Yeah.
And so the Marines, when they would go to battle with the Muslims, had this leather band around their throat to protect them from having their heads cut off.
No kidding.
Oh yeah. So this is our only real interaction at the beginning of our country was we were at war with them.
Yep.
So, but yeah, the Christian faith was absolutely, positively a founding principle of our Constitution. The idea that it was supposed to be secular is it's almost insane. It's denial. There's no basis for that.
Yeah.
But it all stands to reason when you understand that a moral society needs very, very limited government. I mean, there really is no limitation to what kind of firearm you should have or can have and everything else in a moral society, because all you're going to do is use it to protect yourself or, shoot squirrels. So who cares what you got?
Right.
The only reason you would care what people have is if the government was afraid of you.
Or they were nosy.
Nosy, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like that myself, and I mean, there's way too many laws on the books to begin with, for me, and it's just like I'm one of those people that I don't care what you do over on your property and your land as long as it doesn't affect me.
Right.
So you can sit there and grow your 20 pot plants, shoot your guns
Wait.
off.
You're
This and
not
that.
implying that I have 20 pot plants.
No, I wouldn't do that. Why?
Oh, okay. I just thought you were saying I had 20 pot plants.
No, I was saying hypothetically.
Oh. I thought you were ratting me out.
I got to put that hypothetically.
Yeah,
in there.
you got it, 'cause
Let's
you're
keep
ratting
it
me out,
legit.
man.
So, I mean, I could care less if you're growing your 20 pot plants on your property and you're out there and you're shooting your guns and your buddies are there drinking beers and you're playing music. I care less if it doesn't bother me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Even if we're neighborly enough and I come to you and I say, Gary, you're shooting your guns at 6 a.m. Can you at least wait until 7?
You can wait till I wake up, please.
Yeah, exactly. And I'll come over and join you, whatever.
Now,
You know
see,
what I'm saying?
that's the key. If in a moral society, that works perfectly.
Correct.
Because you're going to come over and say, hey, you know, I don't wake up till 8 because I get out of work at whatever it
Yeah.
is. And I can say, oh, geez, Steve, I didn't know that. Sorry, man. I won't, won't happen again. No problem. But in an immoral society, it's all about me.
But is it immoral, or is it the fact that people have come away from people? You know what I mean? Let me explain a little better. How many people actually really know the people that live around them now? Like me, I live in the city.
Yeah.
Okay. Where I know you live out in the outskirts. It's easier to know your one or two neighbors.
Yes.
Possibly. Because
Yeah.
they're a little closer. But for somebody like me that lives in the middle of the city, how many of my actual neighbors do I know?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You don't know who's living around you. Granted, I live in an apartment building. It's 3 stories. I know all my neighbors. We get along all great.
Right.
If I'm turning around and I'm jamming out music and I'm having friends over and this and that, and my neighbor comes down and says, Steve, I got to work in the morning. It's
Kids
this
trying
time.
to sleep, you know.
Kids trying to sleep, whatever. Not a problem, dude. Turn it right down. Hey, is that good for you? Any other problems? Come see me. You
Right.
know what I mean? We have that bond and that connection, which is why I like living where I'm at.
Right.
Not saying we don't have other problems in the neighborhood. You know, I've had stuff stolen out of my yard and this and that, and God forbid if I catch them, you know what I'm saying? I'm armed, so, you know, let me catch you.
Right. Right.
You know, and it's sad that people have to steal stuff out of there. I had an urban garden going.
Okay.
I must have had about
What does that mean?
an urban garden. It's just a garden that you grow in the city.
Okay.
All right, but mine were all in, you know, pots and this and that. I mean, I was growing everything from jalapenos to tomatoes, this and that. We can our own stuff.
Yeah.
So it gets us through the winter if we want sauce or if we want, you know, and we also do the apples, you know, we make apple sauce, apple butter, all that. So we have it. It'll get us through the winter.
Right.
And at least till next fall, you know, something. So anyways, somebody in the middle of the night turned around and stole 3 5-gallon buckets. Couple of jalapeno plants, and it was, you know, another plant and this and that. Topping off, they stole my neighbor's little tiny hibachi grill, and the kicker is they unscrewed the spigot off my garden hose and took that too. I mean, really?
Wow.
I mean, if you're hungry, come see me. I'll feed you. You know
right,
what I'm
right,
saying?
Right.
But don't steal from me.
No.
Because, you know, you get caught in somebody's yard at 3 a.m. in the morning stealing something, you might liable to end up getting shot.
Right. Actually, I don't think you could shoot somebody for that.
Well,
You could scare the heck out of them.
could, but I mean, you know, I'm just saying,
I
not
know.
necessarily me, but anybody in general. I mean,
Right.
there's millions of people that live in the city.
Yeah, you always make sure you have a gun you can throw away. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what happened.
He tripped and
He
fell.
tripped and fell on that bullet.
But I mean, you know, that was my point. Is like, how many other people do you actually know? So there's your moral society. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? That's my moral society. I know the people around me. I know the people on the other side of me. Empty building just got bought, sold, refurbished, the whole 9 yards. So there's totally new people in it. Know the people behind me. You know what I mean?
That's pretty good, actually.
So it's all about knowing your people. You know, and one of my neighbors, he has surveillance cameras. Something
Oh, cool.
happens, you know what I mean?
Did they work for this?
Yeah, I got an image, but you know, it was at that hour where it's just before daylight and sunlight. I mean, nighttime, and you know the sun's starting to rise. So you know, it was kind of grainy because of the, you know,
Right,
the exposure of it.
right,
you know,
right,
from
right.
night vision to regular camera mode. So
Oh, okay.
you know,
That's
it was
too
some
bad.
kid on a bicycle, from what I could tell.
Wow,
You know.
that's horrible.
But I would still love to have seen him riding down the street at, you know, 3:30 in the morning on a bicycle holding a 5-gallon bucket. You know what I'm saying? With this big old jalapeno plant.
That's insane. That's insane.
You know, but he was brazen because he had to have made several trips.
Yep.
You know, they see him coming in the alley, leaving, coming in the alley, leaving, you know. But that was brazen to come in 4 different times.
Wow.
3 different times, you know.
Did you call the cops or not?
What's the
bother?
point? I mean, you know, they didn't have anything to go on. They wouldn't have had anything to go on.
Yeah.
I had a grainy picture, you know what I'm saying?
Right, right.
So, I mean, what more can they do? They step up a little more patrol in the neighborhood and this and that, you know. I get it, but whatever. It is what it is.
Yeah, it's too bad. I know. I made a. You see, you gotta think outside the box.
Oh, I did. I was setting my
Oh.
trail cams out.
Oh well, no. What I did, and I don't think this is legal, so don't use this at home.
Don't try this at home.
Try this at home. I had raccoons get into my trash, which is basically what you're talking about, and I couldn't catch them. So what I did,
You're too slow.
yes, I'm too slow. So what I did,
They're running pretty fast though.
yeah. Anyway, so what I did is I took, because they would actually pull the trash barrel over.
Mm-hmm.
So I attached a string to the trash barrel, light string, so you can't really see it, and then I attached that to a piece of plastic,
Okay.
flat piece of plastic.
Mm-hmm.
Then I took a mouse trap and put a piece of tin foil on one side on the wooden side of the mouse trap, and then has the whatever that thing, the trap
spring?
part. The trap part that comes
Okay.
down, the
Yep.
lever that comes down.
That's part of the spring, but
Yeah. And then, so anyway, what would happen is that I'd have a wire attached to that and a wire attached to the tin foil, so that if you pulled out the piece of plastic, it made a connection.
mm-hmm.
Okay? Then I went down to the, if you go to any of the hobby stores, they have ST's Rockets.
Yep.
And ST's Rockets have a little connector that if you connect electricity to it, it burns.
One's a positive, one's a negative, which
Right.
will launch it.
Right.
Yep.
So I connected that to the positive and negative, and obviously had that connected to a battery, and then had the fuse stuck into a pack of firecrackers.
Oh Lord.
It worked perfect. It worked perfect. I was,
You know, you could have saved yourself a lot of time and money and just bought a little small bottle of ammonia. Take ammonia and you mix it 50-50.
with
Spray it around your
50-50
trash
with oh no,
with water.
oh that's too easy. Okay, so but the thing I didn't think of, this is awesome, right? Thing I didn't think of is started to sprinkle. I said, oh, that's gonna ruin everything. So I took cellophane and put it over the top. You would not believe how flammable cellophane is.
Really?
Yes, yes, it was not good. I got it put out pretty quick, but it was pretty dumb. But it scared the raccoons never came back. That scared the heck out of them. All boom, 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 boom. It was that was a fun thing to do. Oh, so the other one I wanted to get your opinion on, I was going to ask Dick when he came, was apparently there is one community, I think it's Laconia, that is contemplating opening up a public topless beach.
Okay.
And there, I believe there's a bill in to make that topless beaches illegal in New Hampshire.
Make it illegal?
Illegal. So in other words, right now, I believe the only regulation is not state; it's local communities decide for
I
themselves.
remember seeing something about that last year at Hampton Beach. There was
There's a
rallies going
protest.
on,
Yeah, there was a
protests going
protest,
on,
but that
yeah.
wasn't. But Hampton Beach already has an ordinance of a decency law, and what they're afraid of is somebody's going to change one of these. And there was a bunch of people that protested up near Keene or something like that, and they went down to a public beach topless, and there's little kids around and stuff like that. And my opinion is, if you want to have a topless beach, get together with your friends, buy some property, fence it off, and do whatever you do. But that shouldn't be you shouldn't be have a 6-year-old little boy or whatever walking
Well,
around.
and here's the thing. As I see it as no different than you go up, like I have to go to Rochester every 2 weeks.
Yeah,
And I go by that one place right off of 125, the nudist camp.
right,
Now, that's a private establishment. You have to become a member to go there.
right.
Okay.
Are you a member?
No, they wouldn't allow me to.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Too many piercings.
Oh, that's too bad.
So, anyways, turn around and I get it. I could care less about that.
Right,
It's a human body.
right,
It's the ones that go hee 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 hee, okay, that make the biggest issue over it.
right,
You know? So if it's known that this beach, this area of this beach and from here to here is topless,
right.
lewd conduct, this and that, charge them for it.
Charge them for it.
Well, you know what I mean. It's a violation, lewd conduct,
Oh,
whatever,
I was
this and
gonna
that.
say-
Arrest them for it, give
Oh,
a ticket,
I
whatever.
thought you meant charging
it's-
for it.
but
It was
it's-
going to go along with the prostitution where you
no.
could have a beach with.
No, but I mean, if you have a topless beach in one area, and you have hundreds of miles of other beaches everywhere else, I mean, New Hampshire has a huge coastline.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with that if that's what the case is. This one area is a topless beach. That's where people can go and they can be free and do whatever they want.
Right.
You know, let it be known, let it be posted, get the warning out, the whole 9 yards. No different than, you know, everything else, whether they did it with the hands free.
Okay, what's the deal with if somebody were to, because right now, I mean, if that was the case 20 years ago, it would be kind of weird, but it would be not that abnormal. But today, with all the digital cameras and stuff like that, what is the presumption of privacy for a girl who's sitting there topless on the beach and on, you know, around Hampton?
Well, I mean, as far as I'm understanding the law,
I mean,
there is no expectation of privacy in
on
public.
a beach. Okay, so you're sitting,
So if it's a public beach,
right.
which means it's open to the public, there's really no privacy laws there.
So
So if it's a private beach,
right.
then I would guess, and I'm not a lawyer or anything like that, I would guess there would be different laws for it. Because now it's considered private, and it would be up to them. No different.
No, if that's what we're talking. We're talking about public beaches.
Yeah.
Allowing topless people. Now let's go one step further. You say, okay, it's a topless beach, and we go with your rules that it's, you know, these 500 yards of this beach are topless. As notice is up, so people don't bring their little kids.
Yep.
Now, I'm sitting offshore with my telescopic lens on my camera taking pictures, and are 14-year-old girls allowed to go on there?
I mean,
I post that on Facebook. Is that child pornography?
absolutely. Why wouldn't it be?
How did I know she was 14?
Doesn't matter. That's the dice you have to roll. If you want to sit there and take pictures of girls topless at a beach,
I didn't
That's-
say I wanted to.
that's the dice you're rolling. I'm sorry. No different than me. If I go, hypothetically, I go out and I pick up some girl, I have to be dead sure that this girl is of a legal age.
Right,
I can't go, well, she's smoking, she looks like she's 18.
right,
How do I know she's not 16?
right. Oh, no,
So
I get that.
that's the dice I'm rolling.
I get that, but I just think if it was a private beach, I really don't have a
What, do you
problem.
want to make it like a dog park and you got to have a membership? So you got to show an ID to get in?
Exactly, because if it's a private beach, then there's rules. You can have rules about no, digital photography, no voyeurism,
Yeah, but then
stuff like that. But you
then they're
can't
gonna
have
start
that up-
charging people for it.
Exactly.
I mean, people pay too much as is to go to the beach.
Yeah, but that would be that one beach.
Doesn't matter.
It should be. I think it should. I just agree with the fact that on public beaches that should not be the case. It's not healthy or a good idea.
How is it not healthy?
It's not healthy for teenage boys and girls to be exposed to that when they're.
Then don't bring them.
Well, I know, but they
Just
go
like- just like
they
Bike
can still
Week. I'm
go by
sorry.
themselves.
I grew up as a kid going to Laconia.
Right.
I've been going there since 1986. I was at probably 7th grade at that time, 6th, 7th grade. I grew up seeing boobies one time a year. You know what I'm saying?
And you look forward to that.
Absolutely, every year. I mean, I work my butt off every year to be able to go.
Right.
You know what I'm
Just
saying?
for that one thing.
Exactly. I was told that, hey, look the other way kind of deal, but you know what? I was a little boy.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
You know what
yeah.
I'm saying? So, and even still, I got older. You know what I'm saying? But you have to know an expectation that you're going to a biker rally.
Right.
This is what happens at a biker rally. People drink, they party, people have a blast. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
To where now, I don't even go. I haven't gone in probably 10 years.
Okay.
And I refuse to now.
Why?
Because it's more family orientated. Now they've enforced laws. They did this, they did that to make it to where families can go there. It's not a family event. It's a biker rally.
Right.
I'm not saying it's for all the outlaws.
Right.
There are all different other organizations of bikers and this and that. My biggest problem is they're looking at it as revenues. They're bringing in more money because they're bringing in families. It's a biker rally. It's not a family picnic.
No, no.
I want to go there. I want to go there that one time a year. I'm not saying break the laws and this and that, and I'm not endorsing that. But I want to go there that one time a year. I want to drink beers with my buddies. I want to get rowdy. I want to have a little fun, and I want to walk that fine line. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's why I haven't gone in 10 years. I don't want to go there with a bunch of little whiny, no pun intended, whiny little kids. That's why I got a sitter. Mine are at home. They're with the ex-wife, whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm going there
Yeah.
with my brothers and my boys.
Yeah, I have I don't really have a problem with the bike week because that's kind of a separate thing, and at least like you say, 10 years ago you knew what to expect, so you're not going to bring your kids there.
Exactly.
Period. Right.
Yeah.
But if you have a public beach, that's not the same thing. It's not like once in a lifetime or once a year thing that as things get weird and stuff. It's I don't know.
A couple months a year.
Hey, anyway, we got to wrap it up. Steve, thanks for hanging out with me.
You're welcome.
And Matt, I don't know what's going on with your dysfunction, but I hope it goes better.
I think they make something for it too.
Yeah, I think they do. Blue pill or something.
I don't think it has anything to do
And
with that.
Dick, I don't know what happened. Obviously, signals got crossed because I saw him in the State House today, and he was looking forward to coming on. So I'm sure there's something signals got crossed, but we'll have him on another time. No biggie. See you next week.